Hiya, kiddo! What the? How the what the heck? The who, mamma mia, what, whoa, mama, what, mama, who the heck, what's mama, hey, heck, who, mamma mia, heck, mama, what's mama, hey, mamma mia, heck, mama, who, mamma mia, mama, heck, mama, who's mama, what's mama, hey, mamma mia, heck, mamma mia. Sorry for that just now. I just had an aneurysm, but mamma mia, what is that thing? Phew, that was weird. Oh, Deltarune, Timer Layout Splits, Chapter 2, Intro. If you're now wondering what is going on, just what? What betrothed you to be here? This is Chapter 2 of a 4-part series of doing Deltarune. And this series is all about me playing Deltarune for the first time and speedrunning it at the same time. So go back to chapter 1 if you aren't already one who saw it. No English, so I have to simply guess my way through what the text boxes are, all in the purpose of being as fast as possibly possible. And now, let's go over to the actual part of gameplay. First things first, sometimes, all the times, let's just skip into the dark world. With all the things that are up to here are just me skipping through text. That is not interesting to see in this type of run. Yes, I did get lost in Castle Town not knowing where I'm supposed to go to, but that is irrelevant. It is just me running back and forth and finally finding my way how to actually start the chapter. And in this speedrunning, do I finally realize that it doesn't matter if I take damage from these stage obstacles. So I now finally start to simply run through instead of trying to avoid them. I'm starting to get the hang of it, what it means to speedrun something, and not just try all the optional things, thinking that it would be useful even if I exactly know that I will skip over it. Let's therefore now go over to Shideado Kyugo Yuyon EX Nana YY Ni QN. That one spells out Queen, so the joke is completely lost in Japanese when she instead is called Ween Summer. And if you're wondering, the time I'm taking is carrying over from chapter 1. So we will only get the times in terms of how much longer it will take from chapter 1. And as usual, will there be no acting, as fighting is probably faster. I mean, it only takes 2 turns to beat 2 enemies, so surely it couldn't be any better if you're just doing that. And I'm also realizing how Toby really loves to do this at the start of a chapter, as it would seem. At least this time is it introducing the music, unlike of chapter 1. Another thing that will be carried over is that I have yet to learn how to use TP. So have fun waiting for me to ever use the TP I'm gathering, instead of simply pressing the attack button. Same goes for armor and weapons. I have yet to figure out what the menu button is. Additionally, we'll also carry over that I'm still sucking at the game. At least I've got somewhat better after doing one entire chapter. And I'm also, of course, due to not knowing this game, walking in the wrong direction first. For the following then, do I not know if in the upper floors these things push you down, which I assume, therefore am I going a little bit slower than you could. Even if I'm now in the right mindset, would I lose more time if they behave like I expected them to behave, so I just had to do it that way. And hey, look, more optional things I'm not skipping over because I don't know if they are optional or not. Despite this of course being Japanese, as it's still Apple saying here. But let's see if somewhat in the future that will still be the same way or not. So how about we go over to a little mini game that is really well thought out for something that we will surely not see ever again in the speedrun. As why would we? Though, how much thought out is it really when you think about it? because all I'm doing is pressing the back button if I'm getting attacked and then spam the input buttons. And that is all you need to do. I'm pretty certain that especially with them showing you the left and right arrow, they expect you to dodge left and right. But you simply can't dodge always downward, so why wouldn't I just do the one thing? Pretty sure that the game this is ripping off is not that way. As in Punch Out you have to dodge in the right direction to actually avoid the attack, not just have to dodge in any direction. Well, not like such a short-term game is relevant to be seen longer. It was only implemented for this one simple joke, so nothing more could be done with this, right? And yes, in Japanese, Queen is still giving the option between Mune and Shimetsu. But what about this one? I am pretty sure that in English this is saying agree to all, not yes to all. For some reason, despite this still being an English word, did they change what it says in Japanese? I do wonder if the pathway is still the same or not in both ways, or if I'm just making stuff up and it is saying yes to all in English. Time for some of the least engaging rhythm game to get over into a fight that is trying to teach you something. Something that is not easy to figure out when you cannot read. These bosses are once again an invincible boss. Just like Chapter 1 had one that tried to teach you something. Good that I already know what is going on here, so I am at least already starting to act. And I can assume how I'm supposed to act, even if I'm not able to read anything beside what the action is. Still, does it not seem like I'm reaching to any goal when they're constantly stopping to dance? So I was wondering if I'm doing things wrongly and just simply don't read them. But as it would seem, am I simply wrong in thinking that I'm wrong? And ultimately do they learn their actions to do this? A fight that could go far worse if you don't realizing what is going on. In fact, is it the perfect fight to tell a bit more about my Deltarune story. I already for Chapter 1 said, when Chapter 1 came out first, I saw it and was simply not interested. And well, the only reason I'm even here to begin with is because Chapter 3 and 4 reveal. I still wasn't interested in Deltarune, but after that one, did for some reason YouTube show me, of all things it could, Chapter 2 Snowgrave, but Google translated. And well, I thought even if I don't like Deltarune, at least Google translation are always funny. Therefore did I watch that without any intent of watching more of Deltarune. Well, as you can see I will now here, and just as intermission. This not so hard, is it? To get the Dagamufuni? Well, going on with the story. After I saw the Snowgrave route of Chapter 2, did I think, and because it was of course shown to me by YouTube, why not also watch the normal route but Google translated of course. I still had no interest in Deltarune, I simply thought the Google Translate was funny. As luck would have it, did I at least think I could try to watch a bit of the normal route a bit later, when I already have seen the horribly misfigured Google Translated version, to see what was actually going on there to make it even more funny what the Google Translate makes out of it. If not, for that weird suggestion of YouTube that it pretty much only showed me because I watched the Switch 2 reveal which had Deltarune in it. Would I not be interested in Deltarune despite Chapter 3 and 4 coming out? So yes, I saw what is happening here, but at the same time, if I didn't saw what is happening here, would I not be interested in doing this to begin with? Can we also shortly mention this guy over here? I don't know his name, maybe like Chicken Nugget or something like that? That surely is a fitting name for him. He gives me some really chilly vibes. I don't know, maybe it's just some solid thing about him that I don't get. Like the type of person who would fake being intelligent. Really just like someone who is digging his own grave. Or maybe we should instead call it that he has a snowy forecast for the future, which is not good for a bird to fly around. Oh well, he is gone and we will never see him again, right? Just concentrate on how happy Ralsei's can't look. That is all we need to know about him. Instead, back to story, I cannot read, so I simply skip over it all and just ignore it. The thing is, even if I have seen this game before, did I not really see the story. I just mostly have an idea of it to a point where it is not all that interesting to see me react to it for the first time, as all the interesting things are guided along with visuals. So let's instead go over to more options, where I can neither easily read what it is about, nor would it be relevant as I am not given an option in the end anyways. So are we all alone once more to go over to some more puzzles that luckily are very easy to understand, so I can simply do them like that. Instead do I want to mention that in this upcoming room, that enemy, you can outrun him. I did it only once, but somehow it is possible just barely, and I did it one time of the few times I played through this, with no skills to know how to outrun him. Instead are we in this first time sitting here and having to simply deal with it. So it's time for more story, and we will simply not acknowledge at what Noel is looking at when she's looking upwards right down below from where Queen is spreading over her, and what would be there if you look up. Instead will we go to the left, and hoo boy, what is that? Seems like I did a detour that didn't do anything at all, as this door was closed. Time to backtrack to where we started off from, I guess. Really did waste an immense amount of time just going there. And now we even have to fight more enemies that weren't there before. I guess the joke is up, even 3 seconds after I started it. As I already said, it was the first time I ever saw Chapter 2, and therefore the longest part of Deltarune I watched at all, being a Snowgrave route, so I of course know of this. With the only chapter that has divergent routes as of now, did I have to think what one I want to play, and I think the more interesting one is the Snowgrave route, because of Spam Neo, instead of doing the Queen fight. So yes, I didn't lie when I said, we will not be seeing any more of the Punch-Out game. Not like you have to win that game anyways, as that is the only time ever, and AAA games would never, where you can lose a fight and still win, as in the end you still lose the fight in the cutscene afterwards anyways, so why would it matter if you win in the fight? It is not like we are waiting on something to happening. It is simply the point where Ralsei is telling something to Queen. And oh hey, I finally figured out how to use the inventory once I found the Pinko ribbon. I am also now starting to use TP more relevantly than before. Still do I then waste time trying to figure out what the Raito Bracer is, as I never used the inventory at all in Chapter 1. Do not know if that is just the base equipment you have from there, or if it is something you get in Chapter 2 when you never equipped something in Chapter 1. All I can do is simply speculate my way through and take far too long on menus on pointless things that wouldn't matter anyways, as I know that the pink ribbon is far better than anything else I could have at all. Especially in this round where I need to use TP as much as I can. And I'm also here looking up which of the options I have to choose, as I am still on Japanese and I want to do Snowgrave instead of the normal route, as I'm thinking that is faster. So I need to figure out which one of the options I have to do to finally do the one thing you need to do to progress in this route, and that is New Shoe. What completely normal and acceptable behavior in a game for children to trick someone into killing other people for the gain of what is just there to kill even more people. How completely normal this is. Well then, time to go over to some more puzzles that aren't real puzzles, because Zenshin. We will not be doing puzzles in this one. And we will also not get the following cheese section, which is very sad, because on a second run through this way it didn't snow graze. I was able to get through the cheese section without stopping full-time running in one go without ever triggering one of the mice. That is the type of skill we will sadly not be seeing here, and instead we will simply go to the mice directly. Mice that have become almost as scaredy-cat as real mice are. And also do these fights suddenly go so much faster when we are attacking. That is quite the sad thing, that we will lose it immediately after this chapter. As you can already think, did my genocide route not just stop here? Instead do I now start to think that Noel does not fear mice. Let's go over to a very special place. As I already said, I played through this again, and in that second run, and in fact in the third run as well. On this exact screen transition, there's a Toby Fox that attacks you. I got it twice in a row in the 3 runs where I could get it. I think it is just a chance to get it, but well, I got it just randomly 2 times back to back. Good that it cannot happen in this round, or it could just lose me more time for just a small gimmick that doesn't do anything. Instead do I now start to crave some chicken. And let I tell you something, I absolutely despise chicken nuggets. They are 10% chicken and 90% nothing what you are interested in. They are simply the worst of all worlds. So I am not interested in this chicken nugget over here. And instead, let's start doing some guarding. At least I can read that much of the Japanese to figure out what spell I have to use and how much TP it takes. If I then would be better at grazing stuff, would I also not waste 1 additional turn to get there. That at least is what I think you could do when you are grazing optimally and not get hit to get the penalty of not getting graze TP. It could be just that it is barely not fitting with the amount of extra TP you get from then guarding afterwards with Chris. Instead, let's now leave this frozen chicken behind. We don't need it for the upcoming part, because of how Snowgrave alters things. Will things go quite a lot faster? That is why I think the Snowgrave route is the optimal one, as it skips over so many things, not including mouse wheel. This one we will have to do. I know about the trick that if you open the menu, mouse wheel gets slower, but that one I completely forgot when I went into this room, as I after all didn't know that this was the room where mouse wheel is in. Instead am I now trapped in the hell of doing this absurdly long fight. And with this also being one of the first times where I used TP with the main party, do I still have to figure out what the things are I can do here. Just so I get even more time loss to the usual. At least using TP overall will in the end speed things up. On the other hand, would have this fight been so much faster if I just did the act action instead of attacking, as I'm pretty sure you can no longer mess up Snowgrave once you are here. So do we just have to attack because I'm stubborn and think that is the optimal way of doing this? The pathways through the castle itself being completely boring, with the exception of course, the Pippin's room. The one room that humiliates you over all things in the world if you get the rare Miss Pippins. And I also heard that before an update, this was a pixel perfect way to get through these parts. But well, now it's not really all that hard. The hardest part was to simply figure out where I'm supposed to go. Followed by a section of me doing really poorly at avoiding things. Including me holding all the way left and right instead of at least just holding all the time upwards and taking the L in taking all this damage. Followed by another section that is mashing as a king to even get me this hidden animation. I still have to do this on my first time, so I have no idea where text boxes appear, so I simply constantly mashed all the time, a little bit at least. And that led me into Pippins the Pippins Away. On the other hand, because I always mashed, did my middle finger really start to feel weird after doing all 4 chapters in a row. That was simply too much mashing for me to do it for that amount of time that I still will not say what it took me for all 4 chapters to basically constantly mash all the way through. At least did I figure out that you can just hold the forward button instead of doing Undertale mashing, or it would be even worse for me. Not even talking about being also then slower. Right now at least, I'm still somewhat okay at mashing. My skills will deteriorate far more at the end, where it really started to hurt to constantly mash everything. What fine punishment for what I'm doing to the game, that I feel a real life pain, as I'm also only showing the Snowgrave route, where we never see this minigame for the Spampton one. And well, when I did it on the normal Spampton to get there, I struggled so long with that one that it felt like the hardest thing in all of this, even if that is a lie, with how me doing Spampton here now. This is half of the recording. Half of the entire recording of chapter 2 was just me trying to do Spampton. As you can see, will I have learned in that time the big shot animation. One that apparently activates an enraged mode, as you can see from his red head. Once I did this on the normal route to get the deal maker, did I also use big shots, and there I really felt what enraged means. But here I'm pretty sure it isn't active at all, as normally you take such absurd amounts of damage when you do this glitch. On the other hand, what I felt either way is the real pain in how I have to control the game. And keep in mind, I can't read the menu, so I didn't know that I can change the controls of the game. Instead did I have to suffer with this type of keyboard. These are my directional keys. This is a normal key to comparison. And yes, my directional keys are half the size of the normal key. It is so easy to mix up your ups and downs on this one. In addition to, if you didn't know how to do this glitch, you have to hold the enter button and the normal interact button at the same time. As the enter button is just fixed an interaction button, even if you change what your keys are, do you always have to hold that one. But at least you could change your movement keys to the left hand and do that shooting exclusively with the right hand. Which is not something I did for this fight, so I had to struggle with trying to control while also trying to do this glitch. I could do this fight normally. On the other hand, am I trying to speedrun this? And this is surely faster than doing it the normal way. Especially when I barely have any items to heal, so getting faster through these phases is probably better than trying to learn them in the short amount of time I have. And simply dealing with having bad controls, which also explain why I'm mostly moving up and down, because that is simply the easiest way when I'm controlling mostly movement with just my thumb. Of the attacks is exactly this one the one I struggled with one most. That attack simply on the second go round is way too fast for me to just get through with simply the thumb. It was the attack that killed me most of all attacks in this fight. I'm pretty sure of all the times I lost, I only lost 1 or 2 times to any other attack. The phase being the close second one, as I still have no idea how they shoot and how to avoid these attacks properly. For all the other ones, like this one with the phone hands, did I figure out how to do them correctly, and then there were no problem anymore, even with limited movement. So will we now reach the final end of this fight? And I didn't know because I cannot read what it means. So after this attack, will I first tried to attack Spam to death, and as he is taking percentage damage, do I think you could possibly beat him even with just doing attacks. On the other hand, takes that so long that I already had to figure out there was something else you need to do to finally get through to this, which is of course acting. I just figured it out way too late. But well, that is what you get from trying to speedrun through everything in a language you can barely comprehend. It is the punishment I have gotten for doing a dumb joke that I am now going through with, and this isn't even the worst time it will affect me. It was simply the second time where it was annoying to affect me, but not a bad time at all, as I can at least figure it out from him taking so little damage. On the other hand, did I struggle far more with the normal Spamton fight, due to the increased damage of course, even when considering that I did it far later and already had gone through this fight once before, did I still struggle about as much as I struggled in this fight. But well, that is not a big issue. It still will calculate into the ultimate end time of this, as that fight was important for something I did later. Still, do we not calculate it for the chapter 2 run, as for this one, we are now done with it. The good thing about chapter 2 is that it comes after chapter 1, so I already know where I need to go to, unlike chapter 1 where I still wasted a lot of time just randomly running around the city, but this time that will not happen, so we will simply go straight to our home and be done with that entirely. For home, I still had the issues of not directly knowing where to go. It is to the bars, but in chapter 1 you are prohibited from going in there, I'm pretty sure. So this time I again trying to go upstairs. Just that text stops you from going there, even if I don't know what it says. Do I know that I don't need to go up there? So ultimately I go into the bars and will wash my hands, as I presumed that it would be that if anything, considering all the surroundings of what was currently happening. That means we now end chapter 2. The time it took me for chapter 2 was when in calculating all the time it also took me to beat chapter 1, 2 hours 32 minutes 57 seconds. I still do not know how this is usually timed, so I am simply timing the time from when I first started the game and continuously through to the end. But the time it only took for chapter 2 was 1 hour 35 minutes 51 seconds. Keep in mind that half of that time was simply me constantly dying to Chicken Neo until I finally got him. If you would take that out, would chapter 2 probably be taking as about much long as chapter 1 did. But well, what can you do when this is the first time me playing the game? I simply have to learn everything from ground up, and at the same time trying to be quick. I have not separately timed my run through chapter 2 again when I did the normal route, but that route, including that Spamton is out of your way, should have taken far longer. I can tell you that I even died once to the Queen fight. I didn't know that you can simply surrender when I fought that fight that time, so I had to redo it from ground up, wasting a lot of time that will be ultimately there when we get to what needed me to replay it all over again. Otherwise makes of course the Snowgrave route, all the puzzles and a large section of the end of chapter 2 go away, which means it would be much longer otherwise. On the other hand, did I also take absurdly long for the Chicken Nugget fight, which then again would equal it out for this run through. Still is chapter 2 in the end a short chapter, and my time is of course on equal with a few seconds behind the last spot. Number 173 for me would it then be, on my first go through, when doing the non-glitched route, as I for certain would not know how to do this glitched. Still a decent time, considering that I, a third of the time, walked into the no-way land, not knowing where I'm even supposed to go to. And all runs that finish are good runs, in my case. Even if it is bothering me that I had some idea what I'm supposed to do. Maybe someday I can do a rerun, trying to figure out how fast I would be on the second way through. It's not the real second playthrough I have, but the second time I will try to get everything and see how fast I am then, when I at least know where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do to enemies and are finally good at the combat.